Hi, and welcome to our video on vocabulary and comprehension. Vocabulary is a critical component of literacy. Without knowing the meaning of words, students can struggle to understand what they read, write, or hear. This is true for all students, but it's especially important for our multilingual learners who are building vocabulary in English while also navigating their home language. Vocabulary development is complex. It's not just about memorizing definitions. Students need repeated exposure to words, opportunities to use them in speaking and writing, and experiences that help them connect words to meaning. This is why intentional instruction is so important. Vocabulary knowledge supports text comprehension. When students understand more words, they can make sense of texts, follow stories, and learn new concepts. Strong vocabulary underpins comprehension, and comprehension reinforces vocabulary, a cycle that builds literacy. Vocabulary acquisition begins in the home. Children come to school with words they've learned through daily experiences, family conversations, and their home language. Teachers can build on this knowledge by connecting new words to what students already know. Vocabulary knowledge varies across languages in both breadth and depth. Some multilingual learners may know many words in their home language, but fewer in English. Others may have a broad English vocabulary, but limited understanding of academic terms. Recognizing these differences helps us tailor instruction to meet each learner's needs. Vocabulary is more than just words on a page. It's the foundation for reading, writing, and learning, and we need to provide multiple opportunities and supports for our multilingual learners to develop it fully. The purpose of instructional design is to ensure that learning is meaningful and effective. One way we do this is by connecting new information to what students already know. Activating prior knowledge helps students understand new concepts more quickly and retain them longer. For multilingual learners, this could mean connecting new vocabulary or content to their home language, personal experiences, or prior things that they have learned. We need to integrate multiple opportunities for using new vocabulary. Simply introducing a word once isn't enough. Students need repeated exposure across listening, speaking, reading, and writing. For example, they might hear a word in a story, practice it in a turn and talk, and then write it in a sentence. This repetition helps build both breadth and depth of vocabulary knowledge. Instructional design should include intentional opportunities for oral language interaction. For students, talking about new ideas and vocabulary with peers or the teacher is critical. Structured activities like turn and talks, think, pair, share, or guided discussions allow students to practice that language in a safe, scaffolded way while strengthening comprehension. Thoughtful instruction design combines what students know with what they are learning. It gives multiple chances to use new words and builds in meaningful language interaction. These elements are essential for supporting multilingual learners' literacy development. When we show a picture like this bus in the snow, we're doing more than just looking at a fun scene. We're providing context for the story Snowy Day before students read it. For multilingual learners, this is especially important because it activates prior knowledge, allowing them to connect the image to their own experiences with weather, snow, or buses. Seeing the bus covered in snow helps students connect the words snow, bus, road, ice to real world objects and situations, which supports vocabulary comprehension. This also helps with making meaning. Using these visuals or concrete examples our students are more likely to understand events in the story. So I might begin by asking some simple open-ended questions. What do you see in this picture? Providing that sentence stem I see encourages students to use complete sentences. I might also then ask, what do you note or what do you wonder? Again, providing that sentence stem, I wonder, allows them to have that structure to answer in a complete sentence. This is also a great time to allow them to turn and talk with a peer before answering, being able to have discussions back and forth of what they see and what they notice and then what they wonder. Um, Going beyond that, we might ask, why do you think the bus stopped? What might happen next? Providing time for the students to turn and talk with a partner allows them to share their observations and make predictions in a safe space, also providing opportunities for that oral language development. By providing this context before reading, we give students scaffolds to understand vocabulary, predict events, and then engage more fully and deeply with the story. Now that students have explored the picture and shared what they see and wonder, we can start connecting vocabulary in English and Spanish. For example, in the picture, we have a bus and snow. These are key words for understanding our story. Notice we can ask students how they say bus in their home language, or we can provide it. We can look at the similarities and differences between the words, really getting them to notice the word bus and then the word autobus. The same can be done with the word snow, asking students how they say that word in their home language, and then having them say it again in English, making those connections. Next, we can use this same vocabulary to talk about how English and Spanish words form differently. In English, we often create compound words by combining two words into one. Snow is a great opportunity to talk about compound words. We could have them listen and say, listen, I'm going to say some words. I want you to be listening for what part sounds the same. And start saying snowball, snowman, snowflake, snowstorm. Hopefully, they're going to hear snow, and we can talk about how all of these words are related to snow and how the pictures to kind of allow them to see what is a snowball. It's a ball of snow. What is a snowman? It's a man made out of snow. And then connecting that to how they would say this in Spanish. In Spanish, they do not connect them and make compound words. They're connected by the word de. So allowing them to see how in English, we kind of put the words together to create a new word, but in Spanish, they connect those ideas using that word de. This is a great opportunity to help students notice patterns across languages, build vocabulary, and understand how meaning is constructed differently in English and Spanish. So from just a simple picture, we've connected context, and cross-linguistic patterns in word formation, all before even reading the story. This sets the students up to comprehend the text more effectively and deeply. Before we read Snow Day, we want to make sure students understand some important words that will help them comprehend the story. The first two words are temperature and canceled. Notice that these are cognates. Cognates are words in two languages that share a similar spelling, meaning, and pronunciation. I would model this for students by saying the English word, showing a visual or an object or a gesture, and then connecting it to the Spanish cognate. For example, temperature. Temperature is a way to measure how hot or cold something is, and we could point to a thermometer and show that to them. Show them how a thermometer works and say the temperature is very cold today. We could also look deeper at the words and count the number of syllables in the English and the Spanish word, the number of sounds in each word. Look at the word parts, really taking a deep dive into how they are similar and how they are different. Looking at the word canceled, we could connect that to the gesture of making an X with your arms, because if something is canceled, it's not going to happen. School is canceled because of the snow. And again, we can connect it to that Spanish word, looking at the number of syllables in each word and the sounds in each word, and just allowing them to see the similarities and differences. The third word is plows, which is not a cognate. It's just a new word that students may not have heard before. So in this instance, I would show a picture of a snow plow and explain that plows are machines that clear snow from roads so buses and cars can travel safely. We want to connect these new words to visual supports, whether it's a picture, whether it's media, whether it's a real object or a gesture. We want to say the word, define it in simple language, use it in a sentence, and we want our students to have multiple opportunities to repeat the words, use the words in sentences, talk about those words in what their experiences have been with them. By introducing these words ahead of reading, we give multilingual learners the scaffolds they need to understand the story, make predictions, and participate in discussions. These words will also help them when we discuss cause and effect later in this lesson. Now we're ready to read our text. Today we're going to read Snow Day. I want you to be listening for what events happened on this day and why these things happened. So at this point, we would read the story, probably chorally first. As we're reading through, I would be paying close attention to where there might be breakdowns in their fluency or places where you would think they might just lose meaning. When they are done, then we would look at some of the sentences that they might have had trouble with, scoop some of those words into phrases that would help build meaning, and then reread the sentence again, reread the text again. We want to make sure that before we were getting in there and wanting them to get that overall gist and then get in and get the meaning and being able to work with the text, we want to make sure that that fluency piece is in place. So then we would reread again, making sure that we are ready for conversation and discussion. At this point, we want to give students opportunities to engage deeply with the text and make meaning together. I explained that we will use questions and sentence stems to help us think, speak, and write about what we read. These stems provide structure for responses, support academic language, and help everyone participate confidently. As students share their ideas, I listen to gauge their understanding and build on what they already know. I would guide them through questions such as the ones on the slide. What happened first in the story? Students can refer back to the passage and use the sentence stem to describe the first event. Why was school canceled? I would encourage them to use the stems. School was canceled because. What did the student do when school was canceled? Again, using the stems to help form complete sentences. What do you think will happen tomorrow? This final question invites prediction. I would remind students to support their ideas with information from the text using the stem. I think blank will happen because. As students share, I model academic language, expand their responses when needed, and reinforce understanding of the story's events and connections. Now we're moving into our comprehension strategy, cause and effect. I explain to students that the cause is why something happens and the effect is what happens because of it. I model this using examples that they may relate to, such as what we put on when it's snowing outside. The cause is it is snowing outside. The effect is that I put on a coat. Because it is snowing outside, I put on a coat. Then ask them to help me with some more. Because my ears are cold, I put on a hat. After modeling, I could have them turn and talk with the peer, and using the picture of the little boy dressed in all his winter clothes, have them come up with some more cause and effect statements. Then we could revisit our text, and I can explicitly teach cause and effect. Teaching comprehension strategies directly and modeling our thinking processes during think-alouds during reading is an effective instructional practice. For multilingual learners, explicit modeling is essential. We would want to teach key vocabulary, such as cause and effect, and key signal words, such as because, so, as a result. I would introduce a simple graphic organizer for cause and effect to help map this text structure so students can clearly see the relationships. I would continue to provide sentence stems to build their academic language. The cause is, the effect is, because of blank, blank happened. It's important to help students navigate complex texts with modeling and plenty of guided practice. To wrap up, these strategies work together to support our multilingual learners. Visuals, realia, and media help activate background knowledge and build essential vocabulary. Turn and talk opportunities give students a safe place to practice oral language. Modeling and think alouds make abstract ideas like cause and effect clear and concrete. Graphic organizers and sentence stems offer the visual and linguistic scaffold students need to organize their thinking. And finally, restating and discussing ideas reinforces both comprehension and language development.